The gift of laughter. Tommy had always been a quiet boy. He lived in the bustling village of Windmill Hollow, a place filled with busy markets, bustling streets, and lively conversations. People came and went, working hard and sharing stories, but Tommy never seemed to fit in. His days were spent quietly by the stream that ran through the village, where he could sit and think while the world rushed around him. Though he longed for friendship, Tommy never knew how to make the connections he so desperately wished for. He felt like an outsider, watching from a distance as others laughed and played, while he stayed in the background, unsure of how to join in. He didn't mind being alone, but sometimes the loneliness weighed heavily on his heart. One crisp autumn afternoon, Tommy was walking through the village market square. The air was filled with the delicious smells of freshly baked bread, roasted chestnuts, and savory pies. As he passed the busy stalls, he overheard a group of children laughing. They were gathered around, playing a game near the fountain, their laughter ringing through the air. Tommy smiled to himself, but he didn't approach them. He was too shy to join, content to watch from afar. As he stood there, a warm voice interrupted his thoughts. "Why, hello there, Tommy." It was Clara, the village's jolly baker, known for her bright red cheeks and always cheerful smile. Clara had always been kind to Tommy, even though he rarely spoke much. She noticed the quiet boy more than most. "Hello, Clara," Tommy said shyly, his smile a little unsure. "What brings you to the market square today?" "You're looking like a boy with something on his mind," Clara remarked, tilting her head with a wink. Tommy shrugged, a little embarrassed. "Just walking around, I guess. I like to watch the others." Clara's eyes twinkled. "I see. You know, watching others is a good way to learn about the world. But how about you come into my bakery and help me with something? I'm baking a batch of cookies, and I could use a hand, or maybe a smile to help brighten the day." Clara's invitation was warm and sincere. Tommy hesitated for a moment. He wasn't sure he could be much help in a busy bakery, but Clara had always been kind to him. Plus, the idea of spending time with her made him feel a little braver. "Okay, I'll help," Tommy said, his voice just above a whisper. Clara's face lit up. "Wonderful. I'll even teach you the secret to my cookies. Would you like that?" Tommy nodded, feeling a flutter of excitement deep in his chest. He followed Clara to her bakery, a cozy little shop with a red and white checkered tablecloth and the comforting scent of vanilla and sugar. The warm glow of the ovens and the gentle hum of Clara's voice made Tommy feel safe, even though he was still a bit unsure of himself. As Clara pulled out the ingredients, she chatted about the village, the weather, and how much she loved baking. Tommy listened quietly, but as Clara asked him to stir the batter, he felt a sense of purpose that he hadn't felt in a long time. Mixing the dough was simple, but with each turn of the spoon, Tommy began to relax. He couldn't help but smile when Clara placed a tray of cookies in front of him, ready for the oven. "Now, you keep those cookies warm while I talk to the customers," Clara said with a wink. "Go ahead, take a plate and offer them to people who come into the shop. You never know, they might like them as much as I do." Tommy's heart raced. He had never been one to approach others, but Clara's confidence was contagious. He took the plate and stepped outside. As the sun began to set, the village square was filled with people finishing their day. Tommy stood by the door, a plate of freshly baked cookies in his hands, unsure of how to approach anyone. Just then, a little girl named Lily walked by, looking tired after a long day of playing. Tommy hesitated but then held out the plate of cookies. "Would you like one?" he asked softly. Lily's eyes widened with surprise. Then a big smile spread across her face. "Oh yes, please," she said, taking a cookie with both hands. "These smell so good." "Thank you, Tommy." Tommy's face brightened at the compliment. He hadn't expected Lily to be so kind in return. As he watched her walk away with the cookie, he felt a strange warmth spread through him. Maybe he could make some new friends after all. The next few days were a blur of new experiences. Tommy began to help Clara more often, and each time he offered the cookies to the villagers, he felt a little braver. He discovered that people loved Clara's cookies, but what they loved even more was Tommy's smile. The more he smiled and offered the treats, the more people stopped to chat with him. It wasn't long before he was making small jokes and sharing stories with the villagers, who quickly grew fond of him. One afternoon, as Tommy handed out cookies to a group of children, he noticed something remarkable. The children who had once played together near the fountain, laughing without a care, were now gathered around Tommy. They weren't laughing at him or pointing out how quiet he was. Instead, they were laughing with him, because of him. Tommy had started to tell jokes. Simple, silly jokes that made the villagers chuckle. His quiet nature had become a source of warmth and humor in the village, and before he knew it, he was the one making others laugh. It wasn't the cookies that made people smile, it was the lightness in Tommy's heart that had begun to shine through. One day, after a particularly good day of sharing jokes and cookies, Clara pulled Tommy aside. "You know, Tommy, I think you've found your gift," she said with a proud smile. Tommy looked at her, confused. "My gift?" "Yes," Clara said, her eyes twinkling. "You have the gift of laughter. I always knew you had it in you. You just needed a little nudge to share it with others." Tommy felt a warm glow inside. He had never thought of himself as funny, but now that he saw the way the villagers smiled when they were around him, he realized Clara was right. He did have something special to offer, the gift of laughter. Over the next few weeks, Tommy's role in the village grew. He became known not just as the quiet boy who helped in the bakery, but as the one who could brighten anyone's day with a simple joke or a funny story. The village, which once seemed so large and overwhelming to him, had started to feel like home. He no longer felt like an outsider. He had found his place in Windmill Hollow, and it was filled with smiles and laughter. As the seasons changed, Tommy continued to work with Clara in the bakery. He became a fixture in the village, not just for his cookies, but for the joy he spread wherever he went. People would stop him in the street, asking him to tell a funny story or share a joke. And he was always happy to oblige. His quiet nature had transformed into something full of warmth and joy, and he had become a central figure in the life of the village. One day, as Tommy sat by the stream, where he had once spent so much time alone, he realized how far he had come. He had gone from feeling isolated and shy to becoming the heart of Windmill Hollow, all because of a simple gift that had been inside him all along. The gift of laughter. He smiled to himself, knowing that sometimes the greatest gifts are the ones we least expect, and that a little laughter can bring people together in ways we never thought possible. And so, Tommy continued to share his gift, knowing that he had found his place in the world, and that the village of Windmill Hollow had become a warmer, more joyful place because of it.